We are told graph 2x minus 3y is less than 6. So we're going to be graphing an inequality. Alright, and first things first, how do we do that? Well, first we're going to set x equal to 0. Alright, so it's going to look like this. 2 times 0 minus 3y equals 6. Now, what's 2 times 0? Well, that's just going to be 0, so all of this kind of cancels out. And we're going to be left with negative 3y. Negative 3y equals 6. We're going to divide both sides by negative 3 to isolate that y. And y equals negative 2. Alright, so we found out what y is. And what did we input for x? Well, we inputted 0 for x. So this is going to give us an ordered pair that looks like this. 0, comma, negative 2. Just like that. Why? Because we inputted 0 for x, and the y value we got was negative 2. Alright, and we're trying to graph this on this graph, and it's going to look like a line. Now, we can't make a line with just one point, so we're going to input a value for y now, alright? So last time we did it for x, this time we're going to go for y. So it's going to be like this. 2x minus 3, and we're going to make y equal to 0, alright? So 3 times, we're going to plug in that 0, equals 6. Now again, negative 3 times 0 is just 0, so all of that cancels out. We are left with 2x equals 6. We're going to divide both sides by 2, and we are left with x equals 3. Now that we know x equals 3, we're going to write this out as an ordered pair. X is 3, and y is going to be, what did we plug in for y? Well, we plugged in 0 for y, and so that is going to be 0. Now that we got this, let's go ahead and plug in those points. So 0, negative 2. Let's go ahead and plug that in. X is going to be 0, y is going to be negative 2, so right there. And then 3, comma 0. So x is going to be 3, y is going to be 0. Now to graph it, we're just going to draw a line connecting those points. But here's an important distinction. If we have a inequality symbol that has the equal to, so like greater than or equal to, we're going to draw a solid line. If it doesn't have that equals symbol, it's going to be a dashed line. It's sort of similar to that number line, where if it's equal to, we fill in that circle, but if it's less than, we just make an open circle. So over here, we're going to draw a dashed line because it's not equal to. So let me get my ruler out. And we're just going to go ahead and draw this line. Alright, and we can add some arrows here. Some arrows. But we're not done just yet. We've got to fill in the area that satisfies the inequality. And how we do that is we pick a test point, okay? And I'm going to pick the origin, the test point. We can pick any test point in the whole entire graph as long as it's not one of the points on the line. Alright, and this is just a step we have to do, a test point. And I'm going to pick the origin because it's the easiest to calculate. There we go, 0, 0. So that right there is 0, 0. Now what we're going to do with this test point is we're going to put 0 for x and 0 for y. So it's going to be 2 times 0 minus 3 times 0 is less than 6. Is 2 times 0, which is 0, minus 3 times 0, which is 0. So is 0 minus 0 less than 6? Absolutely. 0 minus 0 is less than 6. And so we're going to fill in the whole area that includes the test point. So we can go ahead and fill that in, the entire area opposite side of the line that includes the test point. Just like that. And the picture right here is our answer. When they told us graph this inequality, that right there is the answer. All right, let's try another example. Here we are told graph x is greater than or equal to 3y. Now you might say, hey, is this even a line? Like, this doesn't look like a line, right? Lines normally follow the y equals mx plus b. And we see this and it looks a little weird. But you have to remember, all it's saying is x is 3 times bigger than y, or bigger. In fact, this is a y equals mx plus b formula. It's just written differently. So let's go ahead and find out how this works, okay? We're going to divide both sides by 3. Divide both sides by 3. We are left with x divided by 3 equals y. This is the same thing as y equals x divided by 3. So let's just flip the side over here. Y equals x divided by 3. Now, the beautiful property of mathematics is that x divided by 3 is the same thing as x multiplied by 1/3. Alright, so I'm going to rewrite it that way because it's going to be easier to understand. So let me erase this, and I'm going to write 1/3 multiplied by x. Alright. Now, you might start to see how this looks like the formula for a line. Y equals mx, m is the slope, x plus b. You might say, where's the b? Well, the b is 0. The b is 0. It's not here, but it is 0. This is telling me that my line is going to intersect at 0, at the origin. So with that understanding, now we know it really is a line. It doesn't look as confusing, right? This looks a little weird. Now we can go ahead and solve for x is greater than or equal to 3y. Alright, so I'm going to erase this right here just to make it easier. But remember, last time we plugged in 0 for x and 0 for y, and we found 2 points. What happens, though, if we do that here is if I plug in 0 for x, I'm going to get the ordered pair 0, 0. And if I plug in 0 for y, I'm also going to get the ordered pair 0, 0. So to not get 0, 0 2 times, because of course we need 2 different points to plot a line, I'm going to input 1 instead. And the way I'm going to do it is like this. X equals, and I'm going to input 1 for y. So 3 times 1. Well, what's 3 times 1? 3 times 1 is just 3. Alright? So x equals 3. That would give me the ordered pair 3. And what did we plug in for y? We plugged in 1 for y. So that gives me the ordered pair 3, 1. Now let me do it again, but this time I'm going to plug in -1 for y. And you can pick whatever number. I'm just picking smaller numbers because they're easier to calculate. Alright, so x equals 3 times -1. And this is going to be x equals -3. So our ordered pair is going to be -3, comma, and what did we plug in for y? -1. Notice that last time we plugged in a value for x and a value for y. This time, we only plugged in 2 distinct values for y. Why is that? Well, the reason is because this inequality gives you the value of x by default. So all you need to do is you need to plug in y's, and it gives you x by default. The other one didn't. So this one does because there is a variable on each side of the inequality symbol. The other one just had 2 variables on one side and a number on the other side. This one has a variable on both sides, so we can plug in a number for y, and it gives us x by default. Alright? And that's exactly what we need. We just need 2 points. Now let's go ahead and plot these points. 3, 1. X is 3, y is 1. That's going to be right there. And -3, -1. So we're going to go -3, -1. Right over there. Now again, before we draw this line, is it going to be dashed or is it going to be a solid line? Well, over here we have the greater than or equal to. And because it has that equal to, we're going to draw a solid line. Alright, now let me go ahead and draw this solid line and put in some arrows. Now we need to pick a test point to find out what side to shade. And last time I used 0, 0. But this time, the line is intersecting 0, 0, so we can't use that. But we can use any other point, remember? We could use 5, 5, or 2, 2, and I'm just going to use 1, 1, because it's pretty easy to calculate, all right? So this right here is going to be our test point at 1, 1. Now we're going to input 1 for x, and we're going to input 1 for y. So is 1 greater than or equal to 3 times y is going to be 3. So is 1 greater than or equal to 3? No, 1 is smaller than, less than 3. So because of that, instead of shading in this side, we're going to shade in the opposite side. Everything over here. All right? And remember, again, the picture is our answer. When they tell us graph this right over here is our answer. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it helped you understand how we graph linear inequalities. You know, it's really easy. We just find the 2 points. We see, is it a dashed line? Is it a solid line? We pick a test point. Based on that test point, we shade in the correct region. If you have any questions, let me know. I will answer all your questions. And this is a lot of fun because as we get better at this, we can start solving a system of linear equations graphically. And then we can move on to linear programming and etc. But this is the basic foundation. And once you get this down really good, it's a lot of fun just to work out these problems. So as always, stay positive, and I'll see you in the next video.